जय रथ माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपीजनवल्लभ गिरिवरधारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपीजनवल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदानन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन यमुनातीरवनचारी यशोदानन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन यमुनातीरवनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपीजनवल्लभ गिरिवरधारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपीजनवल्लभ गिरिवरधारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपीजनवल्लभ गिरिवरधारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपीजनवल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवतसेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकीनन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। Hare Krishna. So reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11, Chapter 5, text number 29 and 30. I'll recite the text. Namaste Vasudevaya Namas Sankarshanaya cha Pradyumnaya Aniruddhaya Tubhyam Bhagavate Namaha Narayanaaya Rishaye Purushaya Mahatmane Vishveshwaraya Vishvaya Sarvabhutatmane Namaha. Word for word meaning. Namaha, obeisances, te, unto you. Vasudevaya, Vasudev. Namaha, obeisances. Sankarshanaya, to Sankarshan. Cha, and. Pradyumnaya, to Pradyumna. Aniruddhaya, to Aniruddha. Tubhyam, to you. Bhagavate, the personality of Godhead. Namaha, obeisances. Narayanaya Rishaye, to Lord Narayan Rishi. Purushaya, the supreme enjoying male and the creator of the material universe. Mahatmane, the supreme being. Vishveshwaraya, the Lord of the universe. Vishvaya, and himself, the very form of the universe. Sarvabhuta Atmane, the super soul of all living beings. Namaha, obeisances. Translation and purport by the disciples of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. Obeisances to you, O Supreme Lord Vasudev, and to your forms of Sankarshan, Pradyumna and Aniruddha. O Supreme Personality of Godhead, all obeisances to you. O Lord Narayan Rishi, O creator of the universe, best of personalities, master of this cosmos and original form of the universe, O super soul of all created entities, all homage unto you. Purport. Srila Jiva Goswami explains that although Lord Krishna appeared at the end of Dwapar Yuga, great sages chanted this verse from the beginning of that age in expectation of his appearance. Ordinary living entities, although eternally subordinate to the Lord, become absorbed in attempting to dominate the material creation, yet ultimately remain under the control of the Supreme Lord. The constitutional position of the living entity is engagement in the Lord's service. It is further the constitutional position of the material nature to be engaged by the living entity in satisfying the transcendental desires of the Lord. Thus, these prayers, as mentioned in this verse, are offered to the Supreme Lord in accordance with the Pancharatra and the Vedic mantras, so that one may be fixed in remembering his eternal subordination to the Absolute Truth. The Supreme Living Entity, Krishna, eternally manifests himself as the Chaturvyuha, or quadruple plenary expansion. The purport of this prayer is that one should give up his false ego and pray to this Chaturvyuha by offering them obeisances. Although the Absolute Truth is one without a second, the Absolute Truth displays his unlimited opulences and potencies by expanding himself in innumerable plenary forms, of which Chaturvyuha is a principal expansion. The original being is Vasudev, personality of Godhead. When the Godhead manifests his primeval energies and opulences, he is called Sankarshan. Pradyumna is the basis of the Vishnu expansion, who is the soul of the entire universe, and Aniruddha is the basis of the personal manifestation of Vishnu as the super soul of every individual entity within the universe. Among the four plenary expansions mentioned here, the original expansion is Vasudev, and the other three are considered to be particular manifestations of him. When the living entity forgets that both he himself as well as the material nature are meant for the Lord's service, the quality of ignorance becomes prominent, and the conditioned entity desires to become himself the master. Thus, the conditioned soul imagines that he is a very important person within society, or that he is a great philosopher. The Vedic mantras and pancharatras give mankind instructions about devotional service to the personality of Godhead, which free one from the contamination of considering himself a prestigious member of the society or a great philosopher. One in knowledge should recognize himself as a tiny servant of the Supreme Absolute Truth. In Dwapar Yuga, deity worship of the Lord is prominent. Such deity worship is ultimately aimed at the process of Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu. Without hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord, one cannot perform deity worship. In deity worship, it is required that the worshipper glorify the names, forms, qualities, paraphernalia, entourage, and pastimes of the Supreme Lord. When such glorification is complete, the worshipper becomes eligible to realize transcendental knowledge through hearing about the Lord. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshur-unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyatya Deshtarine. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gauratvishe Namaha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhya Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langhayate girim yat kripatamaham bande Shri Guru Dinataranam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. Hare Krishna. So we are discussing from this 11th canto, 5th chapter, that describes Narada's teachings to Vasudev, and Nimi Maharaj has asked again another question, wherein he is asking about the Yuga avatars of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And in reply, we find how Garbhajan Muni is answering Nimi Maharaj, the various Yuga avatars or the incarnations which appear for different yugas. And currently we are in a series wherein the incarnation for Dwapar Yuga is being described. And the incarnation for Dwapar Yuga is Krishna himself. And we find how this particular verse, all the sages, they are offering their obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The first word of this verse, it says Namaha. Namaha te Vasudevaya, Namaha Sankarshanaya cha. Again, fourth line Namaha comes. So in the first verse, 3 times the word Namaha, it comes. Namaha means offering one's obeisances. Then in the second verse also, both the words are connected. Again in the last line, the word Namaha comes. And interestingly, if we find Srimad Bhagavatam, the very first verse, it begins with Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Again the word Namah is coming. And again we find the end of Srimad Bhagavatam, which is 12th canto, 13th chapter, text number 23. Nama Sankirtanam Yasya Sarva Papa Pranashanam Pranamo Dukkha Shamanastam Namami Harim Param. Again the word Namami comes there also. So, spiritual life in its entirety means to offer obeisances to the Supreme Lord and to understand that we are subordinate to that Supreme Lord. Bhagavatam begins with offering our obeisances. It ends also with offering obeisances to the Supreme Lord. And in the middle also we have to offer obeisances. So, how this is so wonderfully connected. Beginning, Bhagavatam talks about Namaha, offering obeisances. And it talks about Nama Sankirtan. But Nama Sankirtan is also another way of offering our homage unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So when we are chanting 16 rounds of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, what it literally means is we are offering our prayer unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada, when he was asked, what does this Hare Krishna Mahamantra mean? And Srila Prabhupada gave a very beautiful answer. Srila Prabhupada said that when we are chanting Hare Krishna, we are begging Srimati Radharani and we are begging Krishna that please engage me in your service. So it is a kind of prayer. And this word Namaha is also very significant in the sense that when we say me, so that is Maha. And Namaha means not me. Generally, a living entity in this material world, he wants everything to revolve around himself or herself. Like suppose a small boy is there or a girl is there and he or she just keeps on revolving over themselves and they find that the whole world is rotating. In the same manner, if a beautiful woman is there, she is dressed very nicely, she has done a lot of makeup, and she'll obviously want to feel that everyone is looking at me, as if I am the center of the whole universe. So in this world, living entities want to occupy that place in the center. People should appreciate me, people should glorify me, people should take my name. But Namaha means putting ourselves aside and putting Krishna in the center and putting devotees in the center. That is what is the meaning of Namaha. So when we say Namaha, we naturally bring ourselves out of the picture. Because many a times, the desire of the conditioned living entity is to dominate over this material world and to get a feeling that I am really great person. Because that is the reason we came to this material world. We came to this material world because of desire. We are staying in this material world because of desire. And if we want to go back to the spiritual world, that can also happen because of desire only. Just the object of desires need to be changed. And Prabhupada would say that the Mayavadis, they want to become one with God. They want to become God. It is the last snare of Maya, last snare of the illusory energy, that one feels, I am such an important person that I am God himself. But Prabhupada would say that if God only prays to somebody else to become God, what kind of God is that? God should never want to pray to someone to become God. So God is God, and the living entity is living entity. Therefore, a major portion of Prabhupada's life, and we pray every day, Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. And we find that anytime any verse or any purport which describes about this Mayavad philosophy, Prabhupada hits it. And Prabhupada says, you can never become one with God. Jiva, or the living entity, is Anu, meaning very small. And God is Vibhu, meaning very great. So the living entity can never occupy a position equal to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The example is given just like a drop of sea water is there and the entire ocean is there. The quality of water is the same. What chemical composition a drop of sea water may be having and what composition the entire ocean is having. Both are the same. But at the same time, the quantity is different. And therefore, Srila Prabhupada gave us the philosophy of Achintya Bheda Ved. Achintya Bheda Ved means simultaneous oneness and difference. We are one with Krishna because we are one in quality with Him. But we are different from Krishna in the sense that we can never equal Krishna. And therefore, if somebody claims that he is the Supreme Lord, we can have some tests for that person in order to judge him. The first test could be, we can ask him to show his lotus feet to us. Maybe not lotus feet, dirty feet. And then we can see if some symbols are there. Because the Supreme Personality of Godhead has got a lot of symbols on his lotus feet. There is a conch, there is an umbrella, there is an elephant goad, and there is a chakra. So many symbols, 19 symbols. 19? So many symbols, Krishna's lotus feet they have. So that is one test. Another test for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, if somebody claims, we can ask him, okay, so whose avatar are you? And he will say, I am the Supreme Person. Okay, but you have come from whom? He won't be able to answer that. Because our Shastra has mentioned that whichever avatar as they descend, apart from the Supreme Lord Krishna when he comes, all the other incarnations, they are expansions of Kshirodakshay Vishnu. Now this person, he may not be knowing Kshirodakshay Vishnu even. So he won't be able to say that. Another thing we can ask him, when Kurma avatar, the avatar came, entire Meru Parvat he was holding the entire Meru Parvat on his back. And Kurma was feeling a very nice itching sensation, and that moving of that Mandara mountain was, Meru Parvat was appearing to be a kind of relieving that itching sensation for him. So if somebody claims to be the Supreme Person, we can tell him that we will keep a very huge and heavy log of wood on your back. Maybe it may be weighing around, let's say 1,000 pounds or something like that. And if he feels an itching sensation, if he feels pleasurable by that, then we can say, okay, you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Even a small thing. Lord, he could hold the Mandara mountain. But even if somebody can hold 1,000, 2,000 pounds, they cannot. Another test we can have is, we can ask them to lift this one table for 7 minutes on one hand, little finger. Because Krishna lifted Govardhan hill for 7 days continuously. So there are different things which we can ask people. One time my spiritual master, he was there with a person, and this person, he was claiming that I am the Supreme Lord. And then Maharaj was debating with him that you cannot be the Supreme Lord. And then after a long debate, he got to answer nature's call. And he said, I want to go, I want to go. And my spiritual master said, you're the Supreme Lord, right? Can you not control your bowel movements? And just to prove that he's the Supreme Lord, he was trying to control. But then it became irresistible for him. And then Maharaj told one devotee to go inside the bathroom and lock it from inside so that that person cannot go in. He ran and went to the bathroom, but it was locked. He was banging, please open, please open. And Maharaj said, first say that you are not the Supreme Person. He said, yes, I agree, I am not the Supreme Person. Please open the door. And that is when the door was opened for him. So living entities in this world, they claim to be very great. But actually, real awakening happens when one understands that I am nothing. And that is what Srila Prabhupada gave us. Like one time, one devotee said to Prabhupada, Prabhupada, I am the most insignificant. I am the most fallen, he said. Prabhupada said, you are the most nothing. You are simply insignificant. So even in being fallen, a living entity wants to claim that I am the most fallen. But Prabhupada said, no, you are not. One time, His Holiness Tamal Krishna Maharaj, he got proud that I am leading so many projects, I am taking care of so many temples. And Prabhupada once called him just to shatter his pride. And Prabhupada asked him, Prabhupada said to him actually, that there are so many universes, there are millions and trillions of universes. And this one universe, we are staying in this one universe. And this one universe also, we have so many planets. We have 14 planetary systems. In that 14 planetary systems, we have this one planetary system, which is called as Bhuloka. In that also, there are so many planets. And in those planets also, there is this one earth. And in one earth, we have 7 continents. In that, there is one continent, which is America. In one continent, America, there are so many cities, and one city is Los Angeles. And one city, Los Angeles, there are so many churches, so many temples. Of that one temple is this Hare Krishna temple. And in this Hare Krishna temple, there are so many people. And of that one person who is there, Tamal Krishna, he thinks himself to be very great. What a contrast that is. So, many disciples of Srila Prabhupada, they recollect that whenever they would go to Srila Prabhupada in a mood of being very boastful about themselves or in a mood of great pride, Prabhupada would smash that pride to pieces. He would literally smash that pride. But when they would go in a very humble spirit, then Prabhupada would acknowledge their presence. Even His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj recollects. Now, Prabhupada would be so happy receiving his reports of book distribution. And one time Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj himself was there, and Tamal Krishna Maharaj called him. He said to him, please come and you yourself can read a report to Prabhupada today. And then Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj was very happy. He started to read the report to Prabhupada. As soon as he started reading the report, Prabhupada began looking somewhere else and he started speaking something else to someone. Then Maharaj stopped. As soon as Maharaj stopped, Prabhupada also stopped. Again, Maharaj started to speak, and Prabhupada again started looking here and there and started speaking something else. And then Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj could not understand, what is this? Today I am personally there, I am giving my report to Srila Prabhupada. Why is Prabhupada doing like this? And then finally he understood that Prabhupada wants to teach me humility. Prabhupada wants to teach me that if ego comes up in my life, it will be very difficult for me to advance. And therefore, as we are talking about awakening, so awakening or advancement in spiritual life is to the degree we identify with the position of being a servant and servant of the servant as well. To the degree we are away from this identity. Generally, when a living entity comes to this world, he keeps on taking so many identities, one after another. The first identity he takes is, oh, this is my father, this is my mother. I am a son or a daughter. Then he takes up identity, so I am a school going boy or girl. Then he takes up identity, oh, I'm going to the university now. Then he takes an identity, I am an employee of this company. Then I am a husband or a wife. Then I am a father or a mother. Then I am a grandfather or a grandmother. And in spiritual life also, these identities creep up in our life. Because of the 4 anarthas which are there, which Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur describes in his book Madhurya Kadambini. There is one anartha which is called as Bhakti Utta anartha, which arises due to your bhakti. When you get some post and position, that anartha creeps up. That I am having this post and position. And because of that post and position also, it may happen that instead of advancing in spiritual life, one may go down in spiritual life. If one thinks that that post is meant for exploitation. So therefore, Prabhupada would say that practicing spiritual life is like walking on a razor's edge. Uttishta jagrata prapya varan nibhoditah shurasya dhara nishita duratya. It is like a razor's edge. Even if we are slightly inattentive, it may cause havoc on the path of spiritual life. Therefore, it is very important as we progress in our spiritual life, we identify more and more with the identity of being a servant or the servant of the servant. And that is what all our acharyas have given to us. Material life means identifying oneself as the master. And that is so prominent in material life. One time I was traveling in a train, and then one person, he was arguing something with a hawker, and the debate got really heated up. And then he said, do you know who I am? 100 people are below me. They serve me. And who are you? You are there to speak me like this. You cannot speak to me like this. I am the leader of so many people. That ego immediately came up. And Prabhupada says that even a beggar can be proud of his penny. What to speak of any other thing. So, actually when pride comes, it is said, there is a saying that when pride comes, one saying is pride cometh before the fall. Before we fall down, pride comes. Another saying is, when pride comes, we are already fallen. If pride is there in the heart, means we are already fallen. What comes ahead of that is a detail in life. So we find how all our devotees, they want to identify with the position of being a servant. Even Srila Prabhupada, how very clear his identification was. Even though he was the guru of the entire world, he was always identifying with, I am the servant of my spiritual master. I am a servant in the mission of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That's why when someone asked him, Prabhupada, are you Allen Ginsberg's guru? Prabhupada said, no, I am everyone's servant. And then he said, to become a servant of Krishna is also a very great thing. I am not even a proper servant of Krishna. So Prabhupada had this consciousness so very clear in his deeply engraved in his heart. And that is why he could do, when he wrote this Markini Bhagavat Dharma, it was very clear, my dear Lord, I am your servant. He signs it, your unfortunate, insignificant beggar. Very clear. Then we find Vritrasur also praying the same thing. Actually, if you find Vritrasur's life, so another thing in this is that no matter how much we are facing difficulties in the association of devotees, no matter how much we are facing difficulties in our material life, the consciousness of a devotee to be the servant of the servant does not change. It does not waver. For Vritrasur, Lord Shiva, he tried to appreciate a devotee Somewhat it was some kind of appreciation. Oh, my dear Lord, you are so great. You are speaking about renunciation while having your wife on your lap. Only you can do that. A kind of appreciation. But then Parvati did not like it. He was cursed by another devotee to become a demon. Then again, next life, he sees Indra, he is wanting to kill him. So another devotee wanting to kill him. Still, the very first prayer which Vritrasur, he says to the Supreme Lord, is Aham Hare Tava Padaika Moolam Dasanu Daso Bhavitasme Bhuya. My dear Lord, when can I become the servant of your servants? That is the only thing I want in my life. That is the only desire which I have in my life. So Vritrasur was very clear with his, because that identity was extremely clear. Sarvopadi nirmuktam tat paratvena nirmalam. Rishikena rishikesha sevanam bhakti ruchyate. Actually, the beginning of bhakti is also when we give up all other identifications. Otherwise, Krishna won't take that service. Krishna will say, you are having so many identifications. You be happy with those identifications. But if you want to serve me, first become free. Sarvopadi vinirmuktam. Just become free. And therefore, when we enter the altar, the Bhuta Shuddhi prayers, one of the Bhuta Shuddhi prayers is, Naham Vipro Nacha Narapatir. Napi Vaishyo na Shudro. I am not a Brahman, I am not a Vaishya. Gopi Bhartur Padakamalyor. Dasa Dasanu Dasa. I am the servant of the servant of the servant. So when we enter the altar, we have to be very clear. And not only entering the altar, but every time, that I am the servant of the servant of the servant. And what to speak of us who are living entities. Even expansions of the Supreme Lord, they have no other identification than being a servant. For example, Advaita Acharya, when he appeared into this world, and that was another point here. We hear the first line of the purport. Okay, we'll come to that later, if time permits. But Advaita Acharya, what he says? He says, Chaitanya Radasa Moi, Chaitanya Radasa, Chaitanya Radasa Moi, Dasera no Dasa. He says, I am the servant of Lord Chaitanya, I am the servant of Lord Chaitanya, I am the servant of Lord Chaitanya, I am the servant of the servant of the servant of Lord Chaitanya. This is the only identification I want in my life. He's very clear. Then we have Kulashekar Maharaj in his Mukunda Mala Stotra. He says 7 times servant. Tad bhritya bhritya paricharika bhritya bhritya bhrityasya bhritya itimam smaralokanatha. He says, I want to be the servant of 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 the servant. Such humility. Because he is very clear of his goal in life. And therefore, when we have many devotees in front of us, then Krishna will want to take our darshan. But if you directly approach Krishna, Krishna, please see, I have come here to give my darshan to you. Krishna will say, who are you? But if we have a lot of devotees in between, and therefore, when we offer obeisances also, we began with Namaha. When we offer obeisances also, the first thing we offer is, we pray is, we chant Guru's Pranam Mantra, then we chant Nama Om Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale, Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane. We are offering obeisances to Srila Prabhupada first. So we are taking darshan also through our Guru Parampara. And that is when Krishna accepts us. That is when Krishna accepts. Otherwise, Krishna says, no, who are you? You have come here. So therefore, one devotee, he was mentioning once, that when we go, if we are allowed to go to the spiritual world, if there are doorkeepers who ask us, who are you? And if we just chant the pranam mantra of Srila Prabhupada, Namo Om Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale, Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane, they let us enter. Oh, you are a Prabhupada's devotee. No problem. You can enter directly. So that is our qualification, to enter into the spiritual world of being a servant. And that is why it is mentioned here in the purport. We have to give up our false ego. That is the purport of this particular prayer. And another thing he mentions here is, when the living entity forgets that both he himself as well as the material nature are meant for the Lord's service, the quality of ignorance becomes prominent and the conditioned entity desires to become himself the master. So all problems begin when we start identifying ourselves as masters in this world. So therefore, again we are discussing about the same thing, but it is so very important that we have that only identification as the servant of Krishna. No other identification. Even if in midnight we are woken up and asked, who are you? That identification should come. I am a servant of my spiritual master. I am a servant of Krishna. To any other identification, oh, I am a mridanga player, I am a cook, I am a temple president, I am a pujari. His Holiness Bhakti Maharaj writes in his book, The Beggar, that I have to give up the identification of being a Swami as well before I go back to the spiritual world. Because we are going to go back to spiritual world without all identifications. Our identifications won't remain. None of the identifications will remain. The only identification that will be there is, who am I? What is my identity? And therefore, in our journey of self-discovery, the initial course, we have, who am I? We say, I am soul. Again, after 5 years, we are asked, who am I? I am a servant. After 10 years, I am asked, who am I? Servant of servant. After 15 years, servant of servant of servant. After 25 years, servant of servant of servant of servant of servant. If that progression is there, then we are leading a perfect spiritual life. But if that progression is not there, if we consider that spiritual life is meant for, it is just like a career growth. Oh, I am a normal devotee, then I progress ahead, I become the temple president, then I become the GBC. That is not what spiritual life is meant for. Spiritual life is not meant for gaining accolades. It is not meant for gaining post and position. But it is only meant for serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And if our post and position can help us do that better, we can take it. But again, being in the mood of servant. Because without that mood, Krishna does not accept our service. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he was talking with Ramananda Rai, the talks between Ramananda Rai and Mahaprabhu, the first thing which Mahaprabhu accepts is the verse Jnane prayasa udapasya namanta eva jivanti san mukharitam bhavadiya varta sthane sthita shrutigatam tanuvan manobhiri ye prayaso jitopya sitare trilokyam. He accepts this verse when we give up our intelligence, our false, materially concocted intelligence, and we understand namanta eva. Again, namaha word comes. We started with namaha. Again, this word namanta comes. We offer our obeisances to Krishna and tell Krishna, I am nothing. I just want to serve you with my body, with my mind, and with my words. When we say that, sthane sthita, then whatever position we may be a grihastha, we may be a brahmachari, we may be a professional, we may be a homemaker, whoever we are. Ye prayaso jita jitopi. Prayasha means almost always. Ajita means the Supreme Lord who is unconquerable. Almost always the Supreme Lord who is unconquerable will become conquered by us if we remain in that mood. So if we want to have victory in Krishna consciousness, the real victory is when Krishna is pleased. Real victory is when we become a pure devotee. So we need to understand, we came to Krishna consciousness only for becoming pure devotees. That was our original goal when we came to the Bhakta Sangha. We did not come here to show off. We did not come to gain post and position. We came for becoming pure devotees. But when this goal becomes missed, when this goal is lost and other goals take over, then Bahu janma kare jadi shravana kirtan tabe to na paye Krishna padet premadhan. Even if we chant for hundreds of lifetimes, still Krishna won't be pleased. Because Krishna is pleased by the attitude of a devotee and not by the magnitude of his position. So advancement in Krishna consciousness is advancement in servant consciousness. And that is what Bhagavatam teaches us. And if we take this spirit of Srimad Bhagavatam, if we take this spirit of the speakers of Srimad Bhagavatam and the hearers of Srimad Bhagavatam, no matter whatever challenges may come in our life, we will go on in our spiritual life because we will know that the only goal in my life is to become a pure devotee. Rest everything is temporary, and rest everything is immaterial. And whatever situations Krishna is bringing forth in my life, they are just so that I realize this. I realize this one thing, that Krishna, I am yours. So many lifetimes I have been in the misconception that I am this, I am that. I am identifying with so many designations. But now, Krishna, I understand. I am only your servant, and I am the servant of your devotees. And then Krishna will say, okay, my dear devotee, you have become totally purified now. Now you come back. Now you need not stay in this material world. Now you come back to me. You serve me there, because you have perfected in your consciousness. And that is the real victory for a devotee. So these are some thoughts. I was going to speak something on prayers actually, because that was, here they are praying, but somehow some other topic came out. Any comments or reflections? Okay, we'll stop here. Thank you so much. Grantara Srimad Bhagavat Purana ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Samveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.